What is going on in the state of Oregon with these flock cameras? Folks, it is a wildfire topic right now. I mean, you can't go on Facebook, go on Google, watch the news. It's everywhere. Now, I started talking about this maybe 7 weeks ago. I made a few videos about these cameras popping up, what they look like. We got some technical specs that we were rattling off that I was trying to inform the public of. Folks, these cameras do a whole hell of a lot more than what you think they do. And it's actually mind-boggling if you read the technical specs and actually know what model and make is actually in your community. You'd be very surprised. We already talked about that. What I want to talk about today here is a couple of different things. A different conversation, not regarding the actual flock cameras, but how local law enforcement up north, Marion, Lane, Clackamas County, how these counties and local PDs are actually helping immigration. And this is controversial, and you know what? I cannot believe that nobody has even thought about this or even talked about it. It's something that happens every day. We'll get into that here in a second. I'm going to talk about the flock cameras. So, Eugene has been, just rattling off constantly, making videos about these cameras popping up. You know, they finally let out the map of where they were actually placed. Of course, people can look and take pictures and see for themselves. Think about the actual camera itself. The pole that it's on. I'm sure you've seen a conduit, a stop sign pole, a school crosswalk pole, any type of stop sign or pole, anything, it's always brightly colored. And that's not because the color it comes out of the factory. It's brightly colored because it's rust resistant, it's galvanized, it's an aluminum color, it sticks out. You can see it from a mile away. Folks, these cameras, they're 10 feet tall, they're on a black pole, the solar panel is black, the control box is black, the camera is black. Why do you think it's all black? Because they didn't want you to really notice them in the first place. But we've noticed them now, especially all the talk that's going on the internet. Like the city of Woodburn, they have supposed 24 of them up. And people have been noticing these things. I started talking about everything that was happening back east here almost a couple of months ago. And this started like a wave from the east coast to the west coast. There's lots of rural communities, smaller towns, even larger cities, that were pointing fingers saying, hey, this is an invasion of privacy. This camera across the street is looking right in my front window. People didn't like that, so they were starting to do away with the cameras. Now, west, out here, it's a whole different aspect. And folks, it's not, if you get these things shut down for 60 days, what happens after 2 months? They go back online. It's not about the short-term effects of these and how you can turn them off for a couple of months until we do a proper investigation. The thing about it is, the aspect, like let's say the city of Woodburn, just got them shut down for 2 months because of the city council meeting that happened here on the following week. The crazy thing is, I did not expect for them to get the boot that way. I figured it would be more or less an invasion of privacy like what everybody else is doing on the East Coast. Now, people up north, even in Washington, are afraid that immigration is using these cameras. Folks, I don't really think they're using these cameras, nor do they care to. I want to get into a conversation about the actual work that has been laid out by local PDs for decades. Now that immigration is picking up on their database systems, I cannot believe that nobody has put 2 and 2 together and even thought about this or even talked about it. It's such a simple thing. But back to the cameras. So the camera thing is falling apart. At the scene right here in the county of Marion, just up north, even down south in Lane County. Things are just falling apart as fast as they went up. And you know what? Part of the problem is a lot of these towns and police departments, municipalities, they didn't make a big deal when they said, hey, we're going to put these cameras in. We're going to watch the community. We're going to use them as license plate readers, LPRs. Well, they do a little more than just read license plates. If you watch my other videos, there's a lot more talk about what these cameras actually do, how they're placed, triangulation, so on and so forth. Anyways, the cameras are getting taken down left and right. Communities are outraged at these cameras because of, a couple of different reasons. The thing that I want to talk about, and I hope to shed some light on with a lot of people that don't understand how this works, but in the state of Oregon, local law enforcement like Hillsborough, Corvallis PD, Woodburn Police Department, Marion, let's think of some other ones. Salem PD. These guys all use what's called CopLink or LEDs. CopLink and LEDs is a database system. Whenever you get pulled over or stopped on the side of the road, whether it's in a car or you're a witness to a crime. Let's say you saw some guy shoplifting at Walmart. Cops get there and they say, oh, okay, this guy over here? Yeah, this guy. Oh, well, can we see your license? And, so we can catalog it in case we have to call you for a witness and all that. So every time you give them your license, folks, you have been entered in the database system. They've got your name, your address, your date of birth, and even if you don't have a driver's license, they still got your address and last known place of residence. So let's say you, and this is a sour subject, folks, but I gotta get it out there and I gotta talk about it. Let's say you've been in this country for a decade. You live up in Woodburn, you live in Hillsborough, whatever, and you've been working and being a good, contributing citizen. About 5 years ago, you were in an altercation with the neighbor. The neighbor had been drinking, the cops show up, and they interviewed everybody in the following houses bordering on both sides of this neighbor that was being, verbally abusive or drunk or whatever it was. So they've got all these people involved just for that one person that they ended up taking to jail. They've got your name, your number, your address, everything they need to know. 5 years has went by, and you've been in this country, maybe you haven't got your citizenship yet, and you're here. Well, guess what? Immigration's coming around, and when you got in trouble up there in the city of Woodburn 5 years ago, and they entered in your digits, your address, date of birth, guess what? Immigration can log into these systems. CopLink, LEDs. LED stands for Law Enforcement Database System. Folks, these systems have been around for the better part of 20 years. So if you've done something in the last part of 20 years or been interviewed or had any type of police contact where you showed them your driver's license, you're in the system. And now they know where to come find you, even if you haven't done anything wrong. So immigration is piggybacking off of these systems. So basically, in long story short, local PD and county sheriff, state police are laying the foundation for immigration to come down and find people. They're not watching these cameras all day long, looking for somebody that they might be wanted and look for that just happen to be walking down the sidewalk in front of these black cameras. They're not sitting there watching these cameras all day long. Trust me. I'm absolutely, positively guarantee you they're not watching these cameras and just trying to get a hit and miss or maybe a lucky view of somebody they're actually looking for. It doesn't work like that. They type the name in and they think, comes right down in the database system on their MBT, and it says last known place of residency was 5 years ago on Front Street, let's say Front Street and Cleveland in Woodburn, Oregon. So guess where immigration's going to go? They're going to go to the last known place. Then they're going to watch. There's going to be a ton of narrative in these reports, folks, and it gives out everything that anybody would need to know if they wanted to come find you. So if you think for a second that all law enforcement agencies don't work together, you're wrong. 100%. Here's something else. This is what's going to end up happening. This immigration stuff is heating up, and it's getting to be almost too much. People are afraid to go out. It's causing trouble in their communities. People's businesses are losing money because folks are getting scared about going out and gallivanting on the town on the weekend. The next problem is when somebody that's in this country decides that they don't want to go easy and they're being picked up by immigration early in the morning, usually in the dark. That's how they run usually. Somebody's going to pull out a gun. There's going to be some shots fired. Maybe it won't even be a gun. Maybe it'll be a rock or a knife. You've got an immigration operation going on in the early morning hours. Maybe some shots get fired. Somebody gets hit. The neighbors across the street are going to go, hey, what in the hell's going on? I heard gunshots. The first thing they're going to do is call 911. Now, this is an actual scenario that happens and possibly could happen. It's very believable, folks. 100% that this could happen, and it most likely will here in the state of Oregon and Washington. But what will happen, a lot of these local PDs, sheriff's departments, some of them up north, down south, they decided that they want to go ahead and distance themselves from immigration, which I understand. They don't want to be implicated in any way, shape, or form, okay? But somebody comes out of the house, blazing guns, gunshots, somebody gets hit, the neighbors start calling the police. This is an immigration operation. We're in a city, let's say the city of Woodburn. Woodburn gets the 911 call that shots have been fired. They may or may not know, have been tipped off the day before that immigration is going to be up there on an operation from the previous day, so they know to stay away from that area. Believe me, folks, if these guys know that immigration's coming to town, they're going to steer clear, far away from an operation that they know that's going on. They won't even be in that same side of town because they don't want to get the finger pointed at them. I don't blame them. But here, back to the scenario. Gunshots go off. Somebody gets hit. We've got 911 calls coming in. And Woodburn PD's taking a 911 call on dispatch, and they're saying, hey, we got shots fired. If they do not show up, folks, that makes them look very, very bad. Especially when their shots fired and local law enforcement does not show up to help out an actual fellow law enforcement agency. Not good. But if they do show up when something like this does occur and will occur, now all of a sudden they're implicated. So all the neighbors are, suddenly looking out their window. We've got somebody maybe laying down, bleeding out. We've got immigration people there with their masks on, and all of a sudden, here comes the county sheriff and maybe state police and Woodburn PD, and they're all there. Now, we've just been implicated for local law enforcement into an immigration operation. And this will be a bad view for especially local police departments. So basically, folks, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. But like I said, you need to think about exactly what's going on in the neighborhood and realize that you're already in the system. Without them stupid cameras, they already know where you are. They know where your address is. They don't need a warrant to come and go through the system that's already been laid out maybe 10 years or a couple of decades before. They don't need any special permission from any department to access those databases. Something that you need to understand is, obviously, the immigration is a federal agency. They outrank everybody in the state of Oregon. Doesn't matter who you are, how many chevrons you got on your shoulders, they are the top dog in the state of Oregon. They do not need to ask permission. They do not need warrants. They don't need to call a judge or a DA up on the phone before they do what they do. They just come in and do it. So don't think for a second, even if they wanted to look at those cameras, that they couldn't. They could, believe me. Same thing with local law enforcement databases. They are in those databases all the time, left and right. How do you think they pick these people up? First thing in the morning, at 5 a.m. when it's dark, because it's been entered in there years ago by local law enforcement. Anyways, back to the camera thing. The camera thing is probably going to go sideways. And like I said in my video, it's a trial. This is just kind of an experiment. These cameras, if left alone, I don't think that they would last any more than 4 or 5 years, especially in the state of Oregon with all the humidity, the rain. They will constantly need attending to because they will have mechanical failures, the batteries go bad, solar panels get water under the plates, whatever it is. They will constantly have to be worked on. Same thing with the red light cameras in the city of Woodburn. Like, they've been updated so many times and knocked over by semis and cars. Another conversation for another day. But you need to look at the bigger picture, folks. Invasion of privacy and what's going on and how they are tracking these people down. ICE doesn't do stakeouts. And when they do, it's just for a few hours to see and confirm if the address that they have from another law enforcement agency is accurate. They watch and wait, and 9 times out of 10, your address, your phone number, everything they want is accurate because it's already been put in the system from years ago. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask